Good morning. I am excited to be speaking today to Jo Stevens from the Zen Zone. We're going to be talking about mental health and mental well-being and supporting that. I'd like to open today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I come to you from where I work, live and play, the Yugambeh people. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'm going to now welcome Jo. She's going to jump on and chat to us, which is so exciting. It's my first day back. Well, I jumped on at the desk last night, but it's probably my first day back at my desk in my office in a month. So we always start back with a bang. All right, here we go. We'll have Jo joining. Hi, Jo. She's coming. It always takes a second. I should have like thinking music. There we go. Hello.
Hello, everybody. I'm good.
Good
Dear, it's always
morning.
interesting. Technology, it's amazing when it works. It's bad when it doesn't.
It always takes a second on the lives. So welcome, Jo. Thank you for joining us. It's lovely to see you again so soon. But for the audience, please tell us, who are you? Just a small question.
I'm Jo Stevens. My business is the Zen Zone, and we provide mindfulness programs to support your mental well-being, and we do that through a breathing and movement technique.
Oh, I love that. Yes, so important. And how did we meet? I would like you to tell this story.
Actually through the Women's Business School, and then we saw each other last week at the Osmond Awards. I'm part of the Women's Business School, and you came on and done us an incredible, it was one of our empowerment days, and shared your story, which was just so inspiring. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Yes. And then we got to actually meet in person at the Osmompreneur conference. We had a funny thing, and I said to Jo, it's a great reminder, and I actually went out to like the MC and said, you've got to tell everyone this. So we often connect online, and we used to get to meet in person more often, but we didn't have that so much. This was a big in-person event after a while. But Jo and I had been messaging on LinkedIn, and then you actually asked a question in my presentation, which was lovely. That we were sitting next to each other at a table and had a good like haha giggle. And then later that day I was like on my LinkedIn and I was looking at my messages and I was like, that's you. Like, no, we didn't actually like connect the dots. I was like, I've just put two and two together. Like, we're going to be talking on live. And so my message was like, if you see someone, go and say hello to them. And it was so nice when people came up and said hello, because I don't know, maybe don't worry they don't know you or assume you do recognize each other. But I think, when you have that opportunity, because it's lovely to connect online, but it's so much more impactful when you get to meet in person. So I'm always like, let's come and say hello.
Absolutely. And it was a thing for me as well. I realized, I think that everybody knows me, but and that's that thing, we do get online and we're doing all this stuff, posting stuff and doing Zooms, but it's so different when you're in person, because sometimes you look a bit different, a little bit more, put together on those days. And so, it can kind of be like, I think I know you, but do I actually know you? And that way, you're better off introducing yourself so people know exactly who you are and how we've met.
And always, I said, as I said in my presentation, it was I just talked on how to write a bio, but I'm like, use your name. Don't, we sometimes start with saying our business or whatever, but it's like, hi, I'm Emma, or hi, I'm Jo. And I always make it very clear. And I do notice people who, it's such like a how to win friends and influence people who repeat your name. I sometimes ask people, Jo's probably an easier one, but though I do know a J-O-H, but ask them to spell their name, because then it's like it really goes in. And there's people who repeat your name over and over. So you just say, oh, it was Jo, was it? It's just, so you're really making sure that connection's strong. And there's nothing worse. I had a client meeting yesterday and the dog was barking and my child was crying, and I totally missed the person's name. Luckily, I knew the other person. I messaged her after and said, I need to know the potential client's name. I want to email them and I can't say, hey, babe. I have to say.
Absolutely. Hello. That is so true. And I'm terrible for that as well. So that's a really great one. I like that. Get them to spell it. I like that. It's really good.
Spell it and like it's J-O. Or
Well,
like,
actually, there's
Sarah, is it
truth.
Sarah with an H or is it without an H? It's like it's true. Anyway, so you started your business, so the Zen Zone. Like, well, tell us a little bit more about that, but I'd also love to find out how you got to starting the business.
So yeah, the business Zen Zone's been around. We've just been over 3 years now. I started the business because to support people with their mental well-being, but because it was for myself in a lot of ways. As always, businesses. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression nearly 7 years ago, actually now, and that was through a really hard time with for my family. My husband was in the Defence Force for 27 years. He had was just previously the year before diagnosed with PTSD, and we'd been struggling with that. And as women do, I was trying to do everything. I just received burnout, trying to take care of him, the family, everything else. It was just so very stressful at the time. And it just was a realization that I needed to actually take care of my own mental well-being to support my family. So that's how it all started.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, sharing your journey. And it's a journey that I've had as well. And it's come back to me the last few days a lot. And I've shared it. It's one of those things where you feel like you've talked about it and everyone knows and quite open about it. But I thought I will share it on this platform and I will end up sharing it on my podcast because it's important, I think, for that to be normalized. And where was that? I was in a chat yesterday and someone was saying, I know that, our technical term, and you even asked the question at Osmum about talking about mental health. And I think sometimes that word, there's still that stigma around the word mental. So they were saying like mind health or however, and I know you do talk about mindfulness as well. And, but, we shouldn't have to be scared of those words and that we can live with this and that it's probably a lot more common than we realize.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the things I always talk about, is when I do some talking situations and speaking events, is that we actually all have mental health issues. We don't have to be diagnosed with mental health, because we're all going to have things where like the shit hits the fan, there's a stressful day, you lose someone. All of these things are going to impact our mental well-being, and we have to really have those tools to support ourselves to get through that, so we don't go down that road and then like to that burnout, depression, and the anxiety where it becomes too much. And I think that's we need to be mindful of that. Is that we're all going to have those times when we're going to feel like that. So it's about having the right tools that we can use, having a great friend to talk to, all of those things that are so important to keep ourselves mentally strong.
I like the words that you're using. So I think where people like some of that stigmas come from is when we talk about mental illness, and then which it is when you are ill mentally. But and you're fine to say I have a cold and going to the doctor, but you're not fine to say that my mind's not well. But anyway, and then so mental health is softer. But again, now it's got that sort of, it's like, oh, okay, that's that basket. But then I love you say mental well-being. That sort of feels like that's the proactive and that's the nurturing and that's the ongoing care, which is so important. Absolutely. And then mentally strong or mental strength, like that's sort of, I guess, like the thriving and the working with it, and like that's such nice language.
I agree, it is. And and there is that stigma, and like especially I remember at the Osmum we had a couple of people share with us their mental health journeys and the diagnosis that they had, and it's not a label. I don't really feel like we need to label it. I think we just need to go, okay, that happened, and I'm living with this. I mean, I still have times, I say that I'm living with my depression because it will still come back at times. I've had different things happen in my life, that then once but I'm more able, and that's what I want to try and help people, is recognize it and be more aware. Self-awareness is so good, like an understanding when you're really starting to go down that road, then that's when you go, I need those tools. I need to get back on track. What was I doing before? And I think that's what we need to try and get that message out.
And I think people are like, oh no, I'm just stressed. I'm just a bit stressed. And for me, stress is like, it's like red flag, and it's
Mm,
stress is a hop, skip, and a jump away from stress, anxiety and depression.
yeah,
Like you are on the path, or it's the flag that's telling you something needs to change.
absolutely. Just noticing those red flags. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and it's just I'm actually grateful. Like I remember hearing a story once. So I'm actually a speaker for the Black Dog Institute, and I love that analogy of the black dog. And it's like, you know, the black dog, he's sitting there, he's over there. We're just going to keep him at bay, though. I love black dogs; they're beautiful, but you know, we can keep this
Yeah.
one at bay. No stigma to black dogs. I have a black cat. I love them, but you know, just keep them over there. But it's just that I love that someone said it was like, would you, if you could take a pill that took your depression away and you never had it and you never experienced it, would you take it? And they say like a huge percentage. I love, we were making up stats at Osmum all the time, weren't we? Something like 70% of people said no, they wouldn't take that
Mm,
because the depression and anxiety taught them things. And I'm like, I'm so grateful that I had it at a young age, because now I'm so aware, and as soon as those things, like you said, start to pop up and start to creep in, it's like, okay, well, I'm not taking care of my mental health. Like,
yeah.
what are the strategies that I need to implement now? And it's not a quick fix. It's like, okay, well, I need to start sleeping more. I need to be, am I eating and drinking well? How much do I have on my plate? And it's not necessarily, you can't just, you know, pack everything in on that day and go, I'm not doing anything. But it's like, well, okay, what
Yeah.
can I start saying no to? What can I pull back from? What can I wrap up? What can I hand over? Who can I ask for help? All of those things have to start happening for it to start.
100%. And I think that's what we need to do is, you know, and just be mindful of that, you know, have those, I like to call it the mental well-being toolkit, have it all there, you know, like, you know, we have lists for everything, like some women are better at it than others. And, but you have that list and that reminder of, this is what I've done. This is okay. If I've done this today, tick, tick. If I've done my gratitude, no, I need to get back into that. All of those things, you know, and that's what I think that we need to just have those there for when those times and when that, you know, shit starts to happen, we go, okay, that's the road I need to go back down, because that's going to be helping me to get mentally stronger. So,
And so, what was your background before starting the Zen Zone? Like, what was the path before that?
yeah, so I actually was a stay-at-home mum for a very long time because my husband was in the Defence Force, and then I was a teacher aide at a special needs school. I love that actually, and you know, and that was when I was still at the school when I had my depression came in, and I decided that I would have, I called it the year of Joe. I left work because I didn't feel like it was serving me anymore. And I just had this passion to do more stuff. And that's when I started looking for things, and I started going into personal development, going to workshops, going on retreats. And that's when I discovered what I call Zen movements. It's a combination of Qigong, shaking yoga, and mindfulness meditation. And then I became a mindfulness instructor. I did a whole mindfulness course to be a coach. And it just, you know, and like I was in my mid 40s when all of this happened, you know, and so I always tell everybody, you're never too old to start something new and try something new. And, you know, I'm 51 now. So I'm like, you know what? I've got years to go and to get this out there and, you know, try and help others, you know, to go down that road before things happen, like for myself. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that, Joe. And that's such a powerful message because, yeah, I think people, I mean, midlife has moved a lot.
Yes.
And even so, even at midlife, it's like, it's like, it's a little bit daunting for me where I'm at. They're like, you're going to work for like another 40, 50 years. I'm like, oh my God. But if you love your work, I don't think like when you run a business and if you're doing like your passion-led work or purpose-led work, I don't think that, maybe retirement isn't such a thing. We don't have that like work, 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 and then I'm going to enjoy my life from 55, 60 onwards.
No.
It's like we're living and we're working and we're doing it now. And if it's not working for you, change it. I love that you did that. I think,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I say that to a lot of people. I mean, I was in a lucky place that I could just could quit work and go down to my passion, but I know there's a lot of people that that's their job, you know, how they pay the bills and things like that. And like in my workshops that I've done in the past, I've said to people, like, you've got to then find an outside passion, you know, like something that's going to lift you up and keep you wanting to keep going. Because I think that if we don't have those passions in our lives, or something that we enjoy, or be surrounded by the people that we care about, then that's when the depression and the anxiety kicks in. And that's when we need to like find the gratitude and you know, be grateful for every day. And I think that's so important.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And I want to come back to you said early on about your husband's PTSD, and I think it's something that's so interesting because yeah, it's like, I mean, technically it's post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah. So it's a trauma, and like we obviously understand why people who've been in the Defence Force or been through a natural disaster or something like that, or a sudden death in the family, like you're like, well, obviously. But that's how my depression started when I was 17, PTSD. Like I couldn't believe that I got that label, but you know, my parents separated, which means, well, you know, we're going down that path, something happened, and it was like, of course my world imploded. That was my world. Yeah. That was everything. So that was trauma. And it unlocked, you know, it was sort of the impetus for the rest. So I think it's interesting, like understanding that could happen to anyone. And it's like, again, it's that label of not going, oh, well, but that person's been through worse than me, or that, well, of course, you know, someone who's seen some horrible things is going to have it, but I can't have it. It's like, well, if you've had a trauma and you haven't been exposed to wars and natural disasters and poverty and all these sorts of things, of course, then your level of trauma is going to be different. And it's just being aware, and then it's that path forward and having the support to go on that.
I agree. And I think, like, you know, that's just something that you touched on. Like, you know, it's not, there's no one thing with PTSD. I've discovered that along the way, you know, and just meeting other people and finding out their stories. It's not just about a massive, like, you know, we're saying like a defense force and in those things. The trauma can be in anything. Like, as you said, yours, you know, like I don't fully understand your story, but having your parents separate, that is a trauma, you know. And then that's what people need to realize. It's not a label. Don't just think because I shouldn't be like this because I haven't gone through what this person's gone through. That doesn't mean anything. You are your own person. You are your own story. Just, you know, just be willing to get the help, because that's like with so often, I don't go down, I'm not in the suicide prevention, you know, can't say that I'm an expert in that field, but I do know of some people, unfortunately, I know of them that have gone down that path because they just didn't think of themselves worthy. So let's start the conversations, and don't just think that your illness or your mental well-being or your mental health is, you know, smaller than anybody else. If you are feeling unwell and you are having those suicidal thoughts, or you're just needing to talk to somebody, please go and get some help. Please talk to somebody. Just don't hold back. I feel that's so important.
Yeah, and we don't need to let it get to a crisis point either. That's something that I've sort of seen with people around my world. Like, you know, it's like, it doesn't need to get to, it shouldn't get to crisis point. And it's why I have continued to see my psychologist for 12 years and keep it open. It's maintenance, it's management.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Kinesiologist, counselor. My husband and I have a counselor together now, and it's like, you know, and my in-laws are kind of like, so we need to be worried. I was like, you'd be worried if we weren't seeing the counsellor, actually. Like, this is helping us. It's communication. It's for our, you know, and I talk about it in terms of support. Like, we talk about the village for the mother. I talk about the village for the business. And I list in that, you know, it's my web developer, it's my VAs, it's my graphic designer, but it's also my psychologist and my physio and my massage therapist and my nail person. Like, they all support me to show up so that I can be here. Like, it's
the best
not
version of yourself. Absolutely.
Why we have to, like, you know, we separate professional and personal still so much, where it's like, to be the businesswoman that you are, to show up the way you are, we need this other support. And it's just all connected. And if you're not feeling good, you know, that's the beauty of Osmumpreneur, I think, is that we are showing up there as entrepreneurs, but we are mothers, and our lives are talked about. Like, we cannot technically be in that room if you don't talk about your family. Like, by default, that's why we're there, that we are mums. But it's so nice that it's talked about so openly, because if things are happening in our life, of course they're going to affect our business and how we show up and operate.
100%.
And so for you, like, obviously coming, like, that's, I know you brought it up in my session too, was like, how do I talk about this thing that's quite, like, it is sensitive and it's delicate and it's maybe taboo. How do you talk about that? And I guess how, for you personally, like, how's that been, you know, choosing to show up like that and to share your story, obviously?
Yeah, I'm open in talking about like what I've gone through, and you know, and happy to share. And sometimes though, what I find it difficult is because it is such I think it's because it's such a powerful subject, and that I feel like sometimes I need to be professional all the time because I'm talking about a very, you know, hard situation and a subject. And that's where, like, bringing in, like, because I'm not Zen 24/7. I love that when I get that asked by people all the time. Is your business the Zen Zone? I use Zen all the time. I'm getting you Zen. No, I'm not Zen 24/7. 100% not. And I'm a little bit crazy. I'm a little bit funny. I like to have fun. And so trying to incorporate that, I have to admit it, I was a bit struggled with that, you know, especially on LinkedIn, like how to be me, but still come off as professional, if that makes sense. And so that's how I was like, oh, how do I do this? You know, and then, you know, I remember you saying, well, you know, that's going to attract your right tribe if you are you. And that's so true. And that's like, oh, that's right. That's what I need to be. You know, I am trying to get into businesses. My have a workplace program. And so it's like, well, I need to be professional. I need to be this way. But, you know, I also need to show myself. And I know that I do that very well on my Facebook and different other things. But, you know, LinkedIn, I probably struggle just that little bit because I'm trying to be a bit more professional.
Yeah, it is so funny. And I mean, I love the earrings, I love the glasses. Joe had some like glittery gold shoes. So I was obviously, I'm like a magpie. I was like, hello, friend. Glitter, we're friends now.
Absolutely.
But, you know, I think, yeah, we're sort of starting to adapt that. But yeah, there's still that thing if you see someone with tattoos or colored hair or wearing bright pants. And I know I turned up to a speaking gig wearing unicorn rainbow dinosaur pants, which opened so many conversations for me. And I literally addressed it straight away. I was like, I had a blazer on. I was like, I'm business on top, I'm party on the bottom. Like, this is me. I wear my hair out so that people recognize me because it's my hair. Like, you know, it's my signature. And someone was like, you know, oh, maybe you like tidy your hair up. I was like, no, this is my hair. You're welcome. But, you know, they actually ended up having a discussion. I found out because I know someone on the committee of that where I presented, and they actually had a discussion. They were like, oh, is Emma the right fit for us? You know, she's wearing that, like, is that okay for her to wear to breakfast? And thankfully other people were like, one, we can't tell her what to wear, and two, absolutely, like, that's her. And it was like, there was so many posts after. I was like, can you just look at your socials? Like, there was so many posts about my pants. You know, so it was like it increased engagement, but it also started a conversation. And so, and like you said, there are going to be people who want to come and have a chat with me, and there are going to be other people who are like, that's not my vibe. And I'm like, thank you, please stay away then. Like, I'm either for you or I'm not. But if you feel comfortable doing it, it might take a little bit of time. But also, like what we talked about in that session is that, you know, in life there's dark and light. And so, you know, mental health is a serious topic and you are a professional who works in it. But there's also a lightness to that. And, you know, it can be humorous, and it can be, there can be like positives to it that we've talked about. And so you being able to show up and share that from your authenticity and from your story and from your experience is going to help someone else to see that and not be like, oh, well, I can't, oh, it's so serious and daunting and professional and I can't. Ugh. You being more lighthearted about it and showing up with your beautiful Zen vibe is going to help people as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And yeah, and that's, you know, what I'm trying, like, I'm, you know, recognizing more and more that, you know, I am on the right path. I'm just going to do it. even won third place in my
You did. You're
my
an
section.
award-winning mental wellbeing specialist.
Absolutely. And so there was actually, I think there's about 14 ladies in my category, like it was for the wellness and well-being. And so I kind of like, that was like, why I kind of, sorry, I'm going to say, slap myself across the face, because it was like, why am I doubting, like, where I'm going? Because, the more people I tell about my program, the more I get is like, wow, that is definitely needed. That is amazing. And then to win third place in this incredible category with these amazing women in business, that for me was like the icing on the cake. Like, let's keep going. This has to be out there. Let's just keep moving forward. So yeah, I was pretty proud of myself, to be honest, for that to happen.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Yes, it's so good, but that doubt, and like I don't think anyone, I know I get it sometimes too, and we were even joking just before, like some of us girls getting ready before the awards night, and one of them was saying like, I had this, I didn't want to even enter because I didn't want to fail. And it was like, there's no failing. There is winning and losing. That's the nature of awards. Somebody wins, somebody loses, but there's also acknowledgement and recognition, and there's a path, and there's that process of putting yourself through that's already winning. But yeah, like somebody will win and somebody will lose, and that can feel disappointing. That's feelings.
And and that came up a bit as well, didn't it? Like I was saying that it's we can't all win,
no,
and
and you don't want to all win.
No, absolutely
no value.
But as you said, we stepped up and we actually were in there, like we were nominated, we were finalists. So that's incredible. I was in other categories, I didn't win. So, but just being a finalist is just incredible.
It is. And so, she told us that process, and, she was like, if you're failing, we were sort of like, definitely not failing, like, but understand. And I sort of joked that I was like, oh, well, I don't have that problem. Fig jam, if I'm good, just ask. But then I said, no, I say that in all seriousness. She's like, that's why I like being around you, because you're confident. I was like, but please understand that I also have fears. I also have doubts. I just work my confidence like a muscle. Like I flex this muscle. Showing up. There are days where I don't feel like showing up either. I mean, honestly, I was in bed half an hour before this because I can. But I took my time, and that's what I needed. But don't just see someone and think that they've got all of it together. Like we all have our own things. It's just that they're probably working that muscle. They're working on their stuff, but we all have doubts, and we all have, so, I think, it's good to have this slap on your face, but we can also, like, part of, I don't know for you, but like with anxiety and depression, is like acknowledging the feelings and not having that diminished. So it's like, I acknowledge that you felt scared to enter, and acknowledge that, of course, that would be daunting, but also then how amazing that you pushed through it. You built that confidence, and you got to feel these other feelings, of pride and sense of accomplishment and all those things. So
yeah, absolutely. And trust me, actually, on the night of the awards night, I did have a little bit of a meltdown just when I turned up, and because like there was all these incredible women turning up in these incredible outfits, and then the little self-doubt come in, and so I kind of walked off. I went and did some of my breathing movements. I rang my husband, like going, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing here. And he's just like, and he was great. So he just started talking about normal things, normal everyday things. And it was like, are you okay now? I'm like, yes, I'm okay now. I can go and I can do this. And that's what I mean. Like we're all going to have those times. So just reach out to somebody, or, have some techniques that you can use, because, like I can seem very confident at times, but like, inside sometimes it's like, oh my God, what am I doing here? So yeah, just be yourself, and reach out when you need that help.
Absolutely. And I can attest to the fact that Jo looked amazing as well in her sequins.
Thank you.
Again, magpie. I was attracted to this. I was like, who's this? I was like, oh, it's Jo. That's awesome. But yeah, it is. There's a credible caliber of women, and of course, and you can feel also, I think there's that duplicity of feelings, and that's not talked about enough. Like you can feel excited and scared at the same time. You can feel happy for someone else and disappointed for yourself. Like, and that, I mean, gosh, if you've never been to an awards ceremony, it is a roller coaster. Like the adrenaline and the energy and the up and like, you're like, yay for you. And then
that's it.
oh,
the up and down. And I think that's what it came from, is because we had like, we went to the conference, the Osmond conference was part of the awards, and we'd had these really high days, and we were like talking about stuff, you know, really like women coming together, empowering each other, which was incredible. And then you know, like it was like them, like I would have this little bit of a low, you know, talking about some hard stuff, and then it's high again. I think that's what happens. And that's why I was like mindful of my mental well-being at that time, because I think I'd been through a little bit of a roller coaster. I was coming to the end, well, like, let me just say, like the climax of the event. And that's where, like, you know, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? You know, that little stress attack come in. And, you know, and we're actually in a group message as well with some of the other ladies. It was very interesting hearing some of them talking about they're having that like low, a little bit of a low
After.
because like it's that afterwards. And I think that's why we need the tools and things like that, you know, and there's been some great chats all talking about like how empowering each other. And that's why, like, I know men do it sometimes, but women, we do it so much better. Just being around each other, supporting each other, it's so enlifting and so, you know, like amazing. And I think I just want to go back there and do it all again.
Yes, but you know, learning as well. You know, I took a couple of days after. It was just the way that timed out. But I'm actually, you know, I have started to think about planning those things in the future. Is that I had 2 days up in the Blue Mountains with some girlfriends, or I did very, very little for a couple of days. And I think that, you know, it's important looking at your schedule ahead of time and understanding, knowing yourself and going, well, if I'm going to put out a whole bunch of energy for 3 days, then maybe I need to have a day or two and not just like jump back into work. I was so thankful that my out of office, I got back from a trip and then went to the conference. My out of office was on until today. Like, I'm so glad I had that. But a few years ago, I would not have done that. I would have not.
Absolutely.
I would have just jumped straight in, and you have to learn that and learn what works for you and how your energy works and what's, you know, that toolkit that you talked about. And I love that you're so actively using that toolkit like regularly for yourself. So yeah, it's
100%.
wonderful. I love hearing about your journey, and I love how you're showing up, and the work that you're doing is truly important, Jo. So thank you for the support that you're people. But tell us, how can we connect with you? We've heard about LinkedIn, but tell us, how can we connect with you and the Zen
Zone? So you can find the Zen Zone on Instagram. You'll see me on here. I'm also on Facebook. You can find our website, thezenzone.com.au. I do have a mental health, workplace mental health program. I have programs as well. I have a great gratitude program. If you're someone that doesn't know how to start, you know, bring gratitude into your life, I also have a mindfulness program. And, you know, and you can find my plugs, why not? On there,
plug
my stories.
Show it right there. Show us right there in the middle.
Absolutely. So my story, if you want to learn more about my story and about like my mental health journey, it's part of that is in there as well. The Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. I have a chapter in there as well. So yeah, you can find all of that information on my website, thezenzone.com.au.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing so openly, Jo. I'm glad that we met. We had this booked in before, but I'm so glad we had that connection. And yeah, I'm really grateful for the work that you're doing. It's so important.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who popped on. And it's been great. I've really enjoyed chatting. It's been fantastic.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.